Master Kapha dosha. Kapha is the energy of water and earth. Therefore, it's one of the most cool and grounding doshas. More than half of this world is water. And in the same way, we are reflections of the world. More than half of our body is made up of water. When we're children, we're up to 80% water, and then as we age, we have less and less water. Water gives us life. If you look at our cells in our body, our cells are literally made up of water plasma. So inside of each cell is water, and water allows for cellular communication. Even though we're living in this physical body on Earth, we are so connected to water. Water is our essence. Kapha is grounding, it's stabilizing, and it gives us structure. These are the dominant functions of water. Kapha is grounding, it's stabilizing, and Kapha gives structure. These are the dominant qualities of Kapha. Without Kapha, just as if there was no earth, no tree could stand erect. So Kapha allows for structure and stability. And in the same way, if there was no earth or Kapha, no building or no human could stand erect. Kapha allows for this stability, for this ability to ground into something and stand tall and strong. Kapha gives us stability. It's our muscles, it's our ligament, it's our lipid and fats. And this is what keeps our cells and tissues nourished, intact, lubricated, and strong. Without Kapha, you would see things like prolapse, and you would have muscle atrophy. You wouldn't have any muscle, so you wouldn't be able to move and walk and play. Kapha is what allows for the structure, the stability, the strength in our body. Kapha is a grounding energy, and it brings us comfort, security, especially in times when we're stressed or when we're uncertain. The energy of Kapha allows us to feel grounded, to feel calm. Think of a mother and just our grandmother and just coming into your grandmother's arms and just lying there. This is the energy of Kapha. We all need balanced Kapha in our life. Too much Kapha, however, it can manifest as too much groundedness. Not enough Kapha is not enough groundedness. So if we have too much Kapha, you're going to have too much groundedness. There's going to be so much Kapha in the body that there's a point of inaction, the ability to not move, inertia, and complete stagnation in both the mind and the body. And that can result in you just feeling not motivated in doing anything. Kapha excess can look like that. Other imbalances in Kapha dosha can look like weight gain, sluggish digestion, cold digestion, constipation, trouble losing weight, and easily gaining weight. Getting easily attached to things, feeling, not even if you want to, but you're just closed-minded, stubborn. You tend to overeat emotionally. You're over-emotional, oversleeping, fatigue, difficulty taking action, having water retention, greed, and laziness are also signs of excess Kapha. I just want to do a recap quickly on the qualities of Kapha. Kapha is heavy, slow, steady, cold, sticky. It has a sticky nature to it. It's liquid, it's oily, it's gross, it's dense, and it's smooth. Think the combination of water and earth and what you would get when you bring them together. These are the dominant qualities of Kapha dosha. And Kapha dosha is easily imbalanced and aggravated when these same qualities are increased in your life, whether you're consuming them through food or through lifestyle practices. So Kapha is easily imbalanced by oily things, heavy creams, heavy foods, fried foods. Kapha also becomes out of balance when everything is too steady or too slow. For example, Kapha does very well when you're doing strong exercises, but if your exercises are just slow, repetitive, steady weightlifting, that could actually, it doesn't do much for Kapha. Or if you just are too steady in the sense that you just want to stay at your desk all day and not move, that inaction, that lack of circulation can cause imbalance in Kapha dosha. Cold is another quality of Kapha. So excess cold, eating cold foods, being in cold environments, cold and damp environments. If you're out at restaurants and you just have like a cold draft on you, drinking cold waters, eating ice cream. So ice cream is a double whammy because it's cold and it's heavy and oily. It's like a triple whammy. It's like all the things Kapha should not eat, but Kapha probably likes to eat ice cream many times because it, in a way, the imbalance is starting to crave. So when you have a Kapha imbalance, sometimes the disease process or the imbalance in us craves the thing that causes further imbalance. It's a vicious cycle. We have to remember that just because we are a human body, it's not necessarily just our thoughts. We have bacteria in our body. We have sometimes parasites or pathogens in our body, and these living organisms live in us. We have billions and billions of bacteria in our digestive system. So if you have an overgrowth of unhealthy bacteria in your body, they may want you to continuously crave these unhealthy foods because they benefit from you being unhealthy. They benefit from you having an unhealthy digestive system, because when your immunity is low, then the bad bacteria can thrive. And when bad bacteria thrives, they get to live. Bacteria, bad bacteria and good bacteria release hormones. Bad bacteria can release chemicals that are precursors to hormones, or chemicals that actually make you crave foods that cause you to be further out of balance. Kaphas have trouble losing weight. The energy of earth and water are so strong and steady in them that it becomes difficult for them to lose weight, even if they're eating like the same meals or in calorie deficiencies. Kaphas need stimulating herbs like ginger and cumin and turmeric to heat up the digestion and enhance the metabolism from the inside. They do well with thermogenic herbs, which are heating herbs, because they're cold on the inside. Literally, the metabolism for Kaphas tend to be lower. Kaphas suffer from sluggish digestion, and therefore heating warm spices are most beneficial for Kaphas to eat for breakfast during cold Kapha times, in winter months and spring months. Kaphas, because they have trouble losing weight, then they need to have stimulating activities, and exercises need to be strenuous, strong, engaging, dynamic, so the body doesn't get used to the same kind of workouts all the time. Kaphas can tend to plateau very easily, so it's very important for them to cross-train, do different types of exercises, so the body doesn't become accustomed. Kaphas on a spiritual, psychological level can easily become attached to things. For example, they can become attached to people, ideas, belief systems, and it becomes difficult for them to step away from these attachments, and they can become closed-minded, stubborn. They need things to be their way, or they will absolutely stay where they are and they will not budge or move. And if you have some of these qualities in your life, or a loved one has Kapha-like qualities, it's important to always heal with love, right? Kapha sometimes need a little bit of a switch on them in a loving, compassionate way, because they have trouble moving and getting started, and sometimes they need to be forced open to see something. It's always best for any dosha, for any human being, to lead with love and have love be what guides and what moves. However, sometimes what I'm trying to say is Kaphas benefit from personal trainers who are a little bit more strict with them and have a bit of fire or excitement sometimes. It doesn't always have to be fire. Kaphas can also benefit from dancing, where it's joyful and engaging and movement, and there's people are of all walks of life are there in joy. Kapha becomes out of balance with foods that are sweet, salty, and sour. So donuts, cakes, Salty processed foods, sour foods like sour cream, all of those things are imbalancing for kapha. Kapha is nourished, on the other hand, by its opposites: pungent, bitter, and astringent. The taste qualities, if you want to attribute them to kapha, are sweet, sour, and salty. Therefore, these qualities are already increased in their body. So increasing sweet, salty, and sour can easily aggravate these qualities already high in the body. Examples of pungent foods are chili peppers, spices that like black pepper, ginger, these are pungent. Bitter foods are dandelion, you can have fenugreek. Astringent foods are things like most vegetables have an astringent nature. Most leafy vegetables have an astringent nature. Kapha is calmed by drier foods, lighter foods, and warming, stimulating foods. So this doesn't mean kapha should just eat dry foods all the time, because kaphas tend to have a more sluggish digestion. Totally dry food can be imbalancing to them. However, the opposite, which is too unctuous or oily foods can cause kapha to go out of balance. So when I say dry foods, there are certain foods that they're not necessarily dry when you look at them, but they have a drying nature. For example, one grain I can recommend for kaphas is barley. Barley has a naturally drying nature to it, although if you cook barley, it can have a lot of moisture in it. But if you eat a lot of barley is a natural diuretic. So it pulls water from the body and it pulls it out. So kapha can balance greatly from drying types of foods. Other drying types of foods are things like broccoli, the other vegetables like cruciferous vegetables. All cruciferous vegetables tend to be great for kapha. Other things like cabbage. Think drier nature, and then you can cook them up. They already have a naturally dry nature, but when you cook them up, there's a little bit moisture added. They become easier to digest, especially with healthy digestive spices added in. You want to nurture kapha with dry, light, warm, pungent, bitter, and astringent. These are the qualities that you want to add into the foods that you eat, into your life. For example, dry saunas are great for kapha types. We want to balance kapha with its opposite, because kapha has a tendency to be very moist and wet. We want to go into maybe a dry sauna. That dry sauna balances the cold, damp nature of kapha. Kapha is naturally on the colder side, so we want to use warming and stimulating herbs and foods and spices, like I mentioned these before: ginger, black pepper, pipali, chilies, garlic, onions. They wake up the sluggish digestion. Kaphas tend to feel more cold, heavy in the digestive system. Cold, damp, heavy, oily, fatty things. These things imbalance kapha. Sweet things, salty things. Avoid fried foods, fried chickens, especially fried chicken that you put in the fridge and it's left over, and then you eat it in the morning, or pizza that's cold and you want to eat it next thing in the morning. Why? Because it's heavy, it's cold, it's greasy, and that's very sluggish. It's going to be extremely sluggish on your digestion. So therefore, if you're a kapha dosha, it's going to be harder for you to metabolize. You want to balance kapha's nature by adding warming, soupy, and when I say soupy, I don't mean oily. Soupy means water. Soupy can mean vegetable soups, vegetable broths. The heating, stimulating nature of soups wake up a sluggish kapha digestion. Kaphas especially need to be cautious in spring season, when the energy of kapha is strong in nature. Spring season is the season of allergies in Ayurveda, but it just in nature. You see in spring season, people tend to have all kinds of allergies, runny noses, sluggish digestion, head congestion. And this is because spring season, it's kind of cool, right? And it's damp and cold outside. So like in nature, like equals what like, right? Like equals like. So if it's cold out in nature, it's going to be cold and damp inside of the body. So in these seasons, it's great to favor hot saunas, heating foods, heating soups to warm up and stimulate the dampness that's aggravating or accumulating in the body. Kaphas need to be especially vigilant with their Ayurvedic practices in spring season and in winter season. Spring, because it's damp and it's a cool season, all of the qualities of Kapha will naturally be increased both in the mind and in the physical body. So in this season, get vigilant on being warm, stimulating the body with digestive spices, exercising, working out maybe a little bit stronger, avoiding oily foods, avoiding fatty foods. Kapha needs to avoid oily and fatty foods. I'm not saying stop eating fats. Fats are necessary. We need healthy fats in our body for immune function, for our hormones, for growth, for having healthy hair and healthy skin. Everybody needs fat. Kaphas need to be mindful of how much fat they take in. They don't need as much fat. Excess fat can be troublesome for Kapha because they already have a tendency to accumulate fat. We are all born different with different constitutions and we have different needs. The same exact amount of fat is not required for a Vata, a Pitta, and Kapha. Kapha tends to need the least amount of fats. Kaphas can benefit from taking action. Kaphas can become stagnant, and it's easy for Kaphas to become what you want to say, maybe like a couch potato and Netflix and chill all the time. I've had Kapha clients who want to do that all the time. It's just easier for them to get home and just sit on the couch, eat, do nothing, eat cold things sometimes, do nothing. And that's because they are so out of balance, but they need to take action and move. That would have been a better choice for them. Sometimes Kaphas can benefit from making a Vata friend. Vatas tend to be always active and on the move. And when you surround yourself with Vata people, especially if you're a Kapha, they can encourage you to get up, move, do something new, try something novel, because Kaphas like that. Vatas like that, and Kaphas can benefit greatly from that balance. Vatas need balance and grounding, and Kaphas can provide that grounding and balance. So Kaphas and Vatas make great friends. Exercise and movement are medicine and boons to Kapha. Kapha needs to exercise and move more than any of the other doshas. You can think about hiring a personal trainer or a coach to help you leap into change. Kaphas need a little bit more support to get into action, to move. Movement enhances circulation, movement burns fat, movement enhances metabolism, movement allows stagnation even from the mind to dissipate. As you move the body, the mind moves as well. Kaphas can also benefit from letting go. Kaphas can tend to hold on to things, and the sticky nature of Kapha, it can be balanced by learning to let go, learning to release, to surrender, to having an open mind, to forgiving. Kaphas have a hard time forgiving. They can hold on to things because of the sticky nature of Kapha. Kaphas can benefit from opening up to new learnings, new ways of doing things, new ways of perceiving the world. Travel benefits Kapha as well because it allows them to get out of the rote repetition of doing things. Learning to forgive and let go of resentment is a big lesson for Kapha, but just not only Kaphas. Because if you're a Vata constitution or Pitta constitution and you have anger towards somebody and you haven't forgave them, that energy will lodge somewhere in the body and you will hold on to it. And there will be a Kapha sticky nature regardless of what constitution you are. However, Kaphas in general, their nature, especially when they are out of balance, they will hold on to something that you said. And maybe something was said in childhood when a Kapha was young. I have a few clients whose family members criticized them for being overweight when they were children. And this negative criticism created a negative thought pattern in their mind where they thought they weren't good enough. And then because they were emotional, they ate even more. And that pattern, I still see it in their life today. learning to forgive your old self, your childhood self, learning to forgive people who may have hurt you. That will liberate that heavy, oily, overly attached and sticky kapha nature in the mind, but also the physical body. When we learn to forgive, especially when we've been criticized, we heal. And our psychology heals. When our psychology heals, our thought patterns heal. And we're able to call into our lives things that are more balancing and harmonious. Being in cold environments can aggravate kapha, and kaphas can suffer from respiratory issues and lung congestion. So especially if you are in environments, in coffee shops, in restaurants where, again, there's a cold overhead breeze, make sure you're keeping your chest warm so that kapha doesn't stagnate here in the lungs. The lungs are the organs of kapha. So this is the center of your heart. Your heart chakra is here. Kaphas tend to be loving, giving, open, and some of the most benevolent, one of the most benevolent constitutions. However, at the same time, when you have loved and then you've been hurt, you can hold resentment there. Kapha benefits again from warming spices and warming teas that can open up the lungs, like ginger. Ginger tea is one of the best teas for kaphas to drink because that spicy, hot, warming nature can open up the lungs. Another herb is tulsi. Tulsi is slightly heating, and it's very specific to the lungs. Because kapha has a tendency to accumulate kapha in the lungs, drinking teas that are both warming and specific to removing stagnation in the lungs will help open up the heart, will help open up the lungs, the vocal cords, and allow more oxygen, more prana to come into the body. And then kaphas will have just more energy, more vitality, and a clear thought process as well. Warm foods are good for all doshas, but kapha can especially benefit from stimulating foods and warming spices. Warming spices like black pepper, turmeric are all beneficial to kapha. Kaphas can benefit from travel. Travel reduces stress. Travel allows kaphas to hopefully exercise, move. Kapha time is between 6 and 10 a.m. and 6 and 10 p.m. This is when the energy of kapha is increased naturally in nature. So if you look in the morning at 6 to 10, it's a little bit more damp outside. There's a morning dew. And if you go outside, you can actually have the sniffles sometimes. So kapha will increase in the body. This is a time when you want to be extra vigilant as a kapha constitution or with a kapha imbalance, and make sure you have warm spices and teas, and also get into movement as quick as possible so you could stimulate your body and stimulate your senses. Use the energy during this time to support you. Exercise in this window, preferably between 6 and 10 a.m. It's best to do exercise at this time because it boosts immunity, it boosts circulation, it enhances metabolism. And kaphas who tend to be more stagnant at this time, actually all constitutions are slightly more kapha-like at this time, we can all benefit from exercise, and our bodies are going to naturally feel stronger to engage in exercise. Sleep is a tricky thing for kapha. Kapha's heavy nature can cause them to oversleep, day sleep. So kaphas need to make sure that they have a strict sleep time and even a stricter rising time. Kapha do well rising early, around 5 o'clock in the morning. If kaphas can learn to wake up regularly at this time, many symptoms of imbalance can be avoided. Kapha digestion is sluggish, it's heavy, they have a tendency to have constipation and fluid retention. Kapha sex, kaphas benefit from sexual exercise. For them, sex is a great activity, and if done in moderation, this is a phenomenal exercise to get circulation moving, to the heating nature of sex. That heat, that inner heat that builds up through sex benefits kapha. When it comes to food, these are the recommendations for kapha. Choose warm, astringent, bitter, and pungent foods. Try to think light, soupy, and vegetables. Spices like onions, all vegetables of all kinds that are cooked are good for kapha. Garlic, avoid sweets, avoid salty, avoid fatty foods, avoid butter, avoid heavy meats and things that are overly processed. And these are the basic recommendations for kapha. When we master the dosha kapha, kapha will allow us to have stability, groundedness, and strength in our lives. Kapha is the energy that can help us push through projects. Kapha gives the energy of endurance, of love, of open-heartedness. When we master kapha, we can master our life. Excess kapha can also cause mental stagnation, where you don't want to do anything. You'll have trouble to move past your own fears. You may feel like doing nothing, like hopeless. Kaphas have a tendency to suffer from depression and feelings of hopelessness. And kaphas will do best when they integrate into their life movement, warming things, friendships, great conversations, and love.